Black Star Robot is here live. I think I'm alive. Yeah, I'm alive. Finishing off the last cigar I was smoking. I'm totally against waste. So before I light a fresh one, I'm gonna finish this off. Totally against waste. I guess I'm a victim of watching those late night channels when I was like 7 or 8 years old, and they would show the kids starving in places like Africa, Asia, and I say, damn. I look in my refrigerator here, and there's a whole bunch of food in there. I look in the cabinets, and there's a whole bunch of food in there. But yet, in this rich world we live in, you got kids, children starving. That was my first hint that something was wrong. I also found it strange that although the children looked skinny, they had a big belly. And being young, I was like, how are they starving when they have a big, round, full belly? Took me years to find that answer. Yet they were starving, but had a big belly. And that was the second time that I realized something was wrong. What was wrong, I didn't know that, but I knew something was wrong. Something was wrong. How is this possible? I have all this food in this house. The garbage can is full of food that other members of my family have thrown away, disregarded like it was nothing. Yet, there's people starving out throughout the world. And the children that I saw that were starving had a big belly. I was a curious kid. And I never, ever, ever forgot about that. Well, the big belly was because of a deficiency in certain vitamins and all that. So that caused the stomach to appear to bloat. That's what I found out later. Because you can eat a certain type of food, and only that food, and not have the other nutrients coming from maybe vegetables, maybe you need some protein from meat, which actually the protein you get from meat is because of the grass and other vegetation that the animals ate. So it's a byproduct of that. So you're eating the meat because the animal was eating the vegetation and all that. So that's the protein you're getting from a whole bunch of stuff. And it's crazy. But I don't like wasting stuff. I don't like wasting food. I just don't like wasting anything. So if I get a pair of sneakers, I don't care what the kind they are. I don't give a crap. Nike, this, they, that. I don't know. I run them down to the ground. I run them down till they sloping. However my heel goes, whatever. Then I get a new pair. Or if I got several pair, I wear them, those a few pair down, and then I wear my new ones. I have to wear it down. I have to get every ounce of wear from every ounce. I'm not going to say that I do that with my underwear. I don't wear my underwear down to their, holes in them. I don't do that. I don't wear them down to the elastic is now kind of like stretching out. I do change underwear and get new underwear periodically. So that's one thing. The underwear part, I don't wear them down. That's disgusting. I do believe, however, in getting dark underwear. White underwear? No, don't get white. Never. No white. Because if you get white underwear, let me let you guys know that. That's new to buying underwear. If you make a wet fart, pass gas, flatulence, you may leave a stain in your white underwear. And they're hard to get out. You probably have to put bleach directly on that spot to get that little streak of condensed doo-doo. So that's just a tidbit for people that's buying underwear, panties, drawers, whatever you want to call it. Stay away from white. And don't get too many black or blue or dark ones, because that's going to be suspicious. And you're like, why this person only has dark underwear? Does this person has a loose butthole? That's going to draw too much suspicion. So, mix it up a bit. So here I am in the park. Temperature right now is 104 degrees. I have my water, so I'm staying hydrated. So I'm okay. I walked probably about 3 miles earlier, because remember last thing I told you, my doctor said I had to lose some weight, or I'm pre-diabetic, which I've been pre-diabetic now for like 10 years, 20 years. I refuse to take medication, so I just make the changes myself. I did tell you how I gained that weight over time of being at a few operations. So I was, incapacitated, meaning unable heard a little semi-commotion. Yeah, so I'm glad my last video was well received. Got quite a few observers, some viewers. But listen, like, subscribe, comment, and share. Black Star Robot appreciates that. And Black Star Robot will remember you if you make yourself known. And me remembering you, that's a good thing. Because I really believe in, blessing people. You'll never know. Well, you do know because I just told you, so you do know. Anyway, this is running down. Yes. So I'm not wasting it. I'm going to put it out. All right? Start with a fresh one. So I actually go over to the cigar place. This guy, he rolls this, old place, been there for like, a million years. Cuban guy or Dominican, Spanish speaking guy, And he tells me that they're gonna be going up in the price of these. These are sweet, have like a little sweet taste to it in the beginning. Really nice. You know, in the beginning I was paying an exorbitant amount for cigars because, you know, I was just trying out different flavors. But I found this guy over there, and you know, cigars was pretty cool. Okay. So, first thing you want to do, I take these off. I don't like these wrapping things. Some people keep it on it because they got Cohibas or some name brand joint they want to show off and all that. I'm not much of a show off. So you wet it a little bit, right? Then you take this thing, and you want to puncture a hole in it. Because that's where you're going to get your smoke out. So you just turn it, puncture a hole, waka. See? Now you got a little hole in it. That's so smoke them out. Then, a regular lighter really doesn't, you want to get the whole, all this part, you want to get all at the same time, else it'll burn crazy, it'll be burning on the side. You know, you don't want to do that. But this one is good. So, and when you smoke it and you light it, you're supposed to turn it. So. Got it pretty good. Okay. What do we have here? Tuesday, New York Times. What do we have in here? Okie dokie. Ah. All right, we're here over in America, so COVID is not as bad as it was last year, in the beginning of the year. Right now, I don't wear a mask. I mean, if everybody would just shut the freaking up when they're around people, no spit or nothing to come out your mouth. You won't be able to pass anything. Just shut up. Don't talk. But, you know, telling people not to talk, it's like telling people not to walk. Well, not really, because some people don't walk at all. Well, you know what I mean. So, in Delhi, New Delhi, India, for those who didn't do too well in geography, it's a different story there. New Delhi, at 9:45 p.m., alarms blared across the intensive care unit of Jaipur Golden Hospital. Over 24 patients on ventilators couldn't breathe. Some filleted their arms and legs. Others cried for help, choking sounds coming from their throats as they were being strangled. Real news. Mechanics sprinted to the maintenance room to see what was wrong. Nurses grabbed small plastic pumps to fill the lungs of critically ill patients by hand. It wasn't enough. Jaipur Golden, a respected hospital in Delhi, had run out of medical oxygen. Over the next 7 hours, 21 coronavirus patients died. Nobody can forget that night, said Shasista Nigar, the hospital's nursing superintendent. It was a total breakdown. Across India, amid a devastating second wave of COVID-19, hospitals ran out of beds and critical supplies, contributing to the deaths of untold thousands of people and worsening an already tragic outbreak. By one count, oxygen shortages alone have killed at least 600 people over the past 2 months. India's leaders knew the country was vulnerable. Yet Prime Minister Narendra Modi, government and local officials alike failed to prepare for the second wave, according to interviews and a review of government documents by the New York Times. India is a major producer of compressed oxygen, but the Indian government moved too late to distribute supplies. Or maybe they just wanted some hundreds, thousand people to perish. Maybe they got a number. It's a very populous country. I don't know. I do know there's a lot of Indian doctors over here. A lot. Uh-oh. A lady with an orange wrap, an orange flowery shirt, and orange shorts just sat across, posted up, legs up. And she's looking over here at me. If something happens, as you guys know, it's a lady with an orange turban, orange like dashiki like shirt. No, that's not a shirt, that's a dress. And an orange pocketbook. And flip-flops. I'm not into prostitutes. I don't do that prostitute thing. She's looking over here, hands, behind her neck. If anything happens to Black Star Robot, you guys are my witness. I describe the assailant. Okay. Oh, there we go. I'm just gonna give you a tidbit of stuff. I'm not gonna get all. I know a lot of people don't read the papers no more. I still read the papers. Usually I read them inside the store, so I don't have to pay for them. Yes, I'm a cancer. I'm not cheap. I'm frugal. Okay. Oh, here we go. Julie was settled first vaping suit for $40 million. You remember them Juuls that was out not too long ago? The vape, which all the young kids were smoking. Everybody was smoking really. So it's supposed to be a substitute for nicotine, but lo and behold, there is nicotine in those Juuls. Small amount, but a significant amount. So here we go. Juul Labs has agreed to pay North Carolina $40 million to settle the first of a spat of lawsuits brought by states and localities claiming the e-cigarette company's marketing practices fueled widespread addiction to nicotine among young people and created a new public health problem. Oh, the lady went on the basketball court, so that must be, I don't know. Is she harassing the young boys playing basketball? Well, one guy's looking at her like she's from another planet. Now both of them is looking at her. I can make you show you this. So she's asking those guys something. Can you see that? Now she's coming back this way. She might have asked those guys for whatever. Now she might come over here and ask me for whatever she asked them for. Maybe a couple of bucks. Maybe I want a happy hot ending. Oh, she picked up something off the floor. I mean, people will do something strange for some change. Post-COVID. And I had some weird experiences in this park before. Yeah, weird. Oh, shit. She's over here, she's looking at me. Oh, shit. You know what? If she comes over here, I'm gonna actually do an interview. I'm gonna interview her. She might just be a park lady. She hangs out in the park and does voodoo or something like that. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay. So where was I? Now, the settlement, which was announced on Monday morning, allows the company to avoid a jury trial this summer as the Food and Drug Administration is deciding whether its vaping products can stay on the market. The company had urgently sought the settlement, but the deal removed just one of numerous legal actions pending against it. 13 other states, including California, Massachusetts, and New York, as well as the District of Columbia, have filed similar lawsuits. The central claim in each case is that Juul knew or should have known that it was hooking teenagers on pods that contain high levels of nicotine. Okay. H2O. One thing you have to do is stay hydrated. I'm checking out, see what the heck is she doing. Okay. Another thing, here we go. As California dries up, farmers are forced to sell their water. Auburn, California. In America's fruit and nut baskets, water is now the most precious crop of all. Water. I ain't gonna drop none because it's expensive. I'm gonna spill none. It explains why, amid a historic drought parching much of the American West, a grower of premium sushi rice, has concluded that it makes better business since to sell the water he would have used to grow rice than to actually grow rice. Or why a melon farmer has left a third of his fields fallow. I don't know what fallow means. Or why a large landholder farther south is thinking of planting a solar array on his fields rather than the thirsty almonds that delivered steady profit for years. You want to sit there and say, we want to monetize the water, ? No, we don't, said C. Fiat, a rice grower here in Auburn, on the banks of the Sacramento River, who this year sold virtually no rice and instead sold his unused water for desperate farmers farther south. It's not what we prefer to do, but it's what we kind of need to. Have to. These are among the signs of a huge transformation up and down California's Central Valley, the country's most lucrative agriculture belt, as it confronts both an exceptional drought and the consequences of years of pumping far too much water out of its aquifers. You know what I'm talking about. Across the state, reservoirs levels are dropping and electric grids are at risk if hydroelectric dams don't get enough water to produce power. Climate change is supercharging the scarcity. Rising temperatures dry out the soil, which in turn can worsen heat waves that we're having right now, a heat wave. This week, temperatures in parts of California and the Pacific Northwest have been shattering records. Global warming, perhaps. By 2040, the San Joaquin Valley is projected to lose at least 535,000 acres of agriculture production. That's more than a tenth of the area farmed. And if the drought perseveres and no new water can be found, nearly double that amount of land is projected to go idle, with potentially dire consequences for the nation's food supply. Wow. Our food supplies. There might be a shortage. Don't get alarmed. And run to Costco, stack it up like you did with the coronavirus situation and buying toilet paper and tissue and napkins, worrying about wiping your butt. But you could just take a rag with some hot water and soap and wash your butt like that without using toilet paper. But it's something to keep in the back of your mind just in case. So you have to stock up on some food supplies. This is interesting. This is interesting because I'm a sports fan. I like sports, and basketball is one of my favorite sports. I like boxing, basketball, tennis, football, baseball, soccer. But basketball is one of my favorite sports. I used to play basketball every day. I actually thought I was going to, possibly be an NBA player. but I was only 5'5". Still am 5'5". Okay. NCAA panel favors letting athletes profit off their name. About freaking time. Because college basketball is a billion-dollar industry, and the players get nothing. The schools get the money, the coaches get the money, the networks that's showing the games, they get money. Everybody gets money, but the athletes that's doing the work, putting in the work. But there's been a lot of pushback from that for years, so I think finally they are allowing these college ball players, what have you, to make their own money. Because most of them will not make it to the pros. So they'll just be used up, and people selling it, the school selling their jerseys and making all the money, and they get nothing. Okay. A powerful group of college sports leaders recommended on Monday that student athletes be allowed for the first time to earn money from autograph signings, personal appearances, endorsements, and their social media platforms, which would be a groundbreaking shift that could see players earn millions of dollars. About time. I gotta clap today. About time. About time. The policy put forward by a National Collegiate Athletic Association committee comes as the organization faces demands to move away from its long-standing position that athletes should, at most, be allowed to receive scholarships and stipends for some living costs. Give me peanuts. So we pay for pay for you to come to school with a scholarship. We'll give you stipends, we give you $100 a month, and you just keep playing basketball for us, and just be the best athlete you can possibly be, and hopefully you can make it to the pros, and then you can start making money, and hopefully you won't have a injury that can ruin your career, and then you make some money. But right now we're gonna make some money off of you, and you get nothing. A final decision by the NCAA's Division I Board of Directors, which largely includes university chancellors and presidents, is expected on Wednesday, but approval is widely anticipated, and the new approach will go into effect the next day. Unbelievable. You can't equate that to modern day slavery. Working and not being paid. But you're getting a free education. Which equates to possibly getting a job and working for somebody for the rest of your life. Oh, okay. 2 boys. Must be her sons, or yeah. Okay, she's not a weirdo. Okay. 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 This is interesting. Judge dismisses antitrust cases versus Facebook. U.S. fails to back up its claims of monopoly status, court says. Washington, in a stunning setback to regulators' efforts to break up Facebook. A federal judge on Monday threw out an antitrust lawsuit brought against the company by the Federal Trade Commission in more than 40 states. The judge eviscerated one of the federal government's core arguments that Facebook holds a monopoly over social networking, saying prosecutors have failed to provide enough facts to back up that claim. And he said the states had waited too long to bring their case, which centers on deals made in 2012 and 2014. The judge said the FTC could try again within 30 days with more detail, but he suggested that the agency face steep challenges. The rulings were a major blow to attempt to rein in big tech. In Congress, legislators pointed to the decision as proof that century-old antitrust laws needed updating for the internet sector. This really stings, said William E. Kovac, a former chairman of the Federal Trade Commission. This is a reminder to those who have waited, who have wanted a dramatic, sweeping litigation campaign to take on big tech, that there's nothing easy about it, because the courts have a different view of the antitrust system. And we can imagine Facebook has a ton of lawyers. Representative for the FTC and Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, who led the state's case, said they were reviewing the judge's decision and considering their legal options. Letitia James, Attorney General of New York. She's been going up against a lot of strong people in organizations. She's making her mark. Don't be surprised if you see her running to be the president one day. Okay. What else we got here? Before I read this next article, I just want to say there's a movie about this situation here called Spotlight. Very good movie. Very good movie. Excellent movie. Okay. This is what the movie is talking about. Catholic Church in Poland discloses hundreds of sexual abuse allegations. Warsaw, Poland's Catholic Church, assailed by accusations that it for years ignored the sexual abuse of minors by clergy members, on Monday acknowledged that from July 2018 through the end of last year, it had received complaints of abuse against 368 boys and girls, pleading for forgiveness from those wronged and all those shocked by the evil in the church. The head of the Polish church, Archbishop Wojciech Polak, said the figures do not express the full depth of the drama of sexual abuse of minors perpetrated by some clergymen. Nearly half the latest cases reported related to accusations of abuse against victims under 15. The timing of the figures release, just days after the Vatican said it was investigating accusations against a retired Polish cardinal of negligence on sexual abuse, suggested an effort by the Catholic Church and Poland to show that it is serious about grappling with sex crimes by the clergy, an issue that has badly tarnished its reputation and antagonized Rome. But the figures compiled by the church in a voluntary survey of this diocese and monasteries across Poland gave no clear indication of whether the problem had grown worse in recent years. More than 3/4 of complaints reported on Monday related to incidents of alleged abuse that occurred before 2018, with some dating back to 1958. An earlier survey released in 2019 found that 382 abuse complaints had been received by the church over the previous 28 years. In a country where 90% of the population identifies as Catholic, the issue of sexual abuse among some members of the clergy attracted little public attention until the release in 2019 and 2020 of 2 documentaries that provided shocking testimony from victims who had been abused as children. The Polish church has been scrambling since to assure worshipers that it has the problem under control. Several senior churchmen have been forced to resign or go into early retirement. In the latest such case, the Vatican on Monday accepted the apparently forced resignation of a bishop in southeastern Poland. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. Zygmunt Kurganwinski, who had been placed under investigation for failing to act against the sexual abuse of a minor in his former diocese. The Catholic Church in Poland, one of the country's most respected institutions, still enjoys high esteem among many Poles, but has struggled to halt a steady decline in regular churchgoing, particularly among young people. I guess the young people don't want to go into church and have the priest rubbing up on their backside as they're walking down the aisle or taking communion. Understandable. Not just in Poland, it's other countries, and America included. So it's just about Poland, but the Catholic Church has been shown to have had a lot of sexual abuse. I think one church, I forgot where it was at, where they found like bodies of like several hundred children that were buried. Insane. I mean, there is some indication that there have been blood sacrifices of children going back into centuries ago. You want that innocent blood to be used in the, Oh, here we go. Take a break right quick. Got some baseball players just came over here. See, when you're young, you can play in this type of heat. It does nothing to you. I remember. I used to come outside. I used to run in 104-degree temperature. Jogging miles. Playing basketball, all that. Now in 104-degree temperature, I just come and smoke cigars and talk to my people out there. That's what Black Star Robot does now. Got one more article I'm gonna read, but I'll take a little break. This guy's teaching him how to throw the ball. Teach him how to pitch. I like to see, young people actually being active. Playing sports and all that, instead of just sitting in front of, a monitor, playing video games. Playing a baseball video game when you can actually come and play actual baseball. That's why I never got into video games. I stayed away from it. They're too addictive. I know if I started playing a video game and I had to reach certain levels, I would not stop until I reached those levels. It would be insane. So I don't play no video games. Never. Ever. But I do like the virtual, the Oculus, where you put the glasses on, the goggles on, and then you, because now I'm playing the game, but it's also a form of exercise. I like that. Okay, we'll get into this next one. In report, UN calls for countries to root out racism against people of African descent. There's racism against people from African descent? This can't be true. This is unheard of. This is abomination. Geneva, the United Nations Human Rights Chief urged members to take action to root out systemic racism against people of African descent on Monday, as she released a report calling for measures to dismantle discrimination and for sweeping changes to policing, as well as reparations. Reparations. A talking point that the black media has been propagating heavily for quite a few years now. Reparations. Did they give anybody else reparations? Let me think. Oh yeah, they did. Finally, the Negro gets talking about reparations. The status quo is untenable. Michelle Bachelet, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, said in a statement, systemic racism needs a systemic response. There was pushback about whether there ever was a thing called systemic racism. Really? Where? That's not true. No, there's a few bad apples there. They maybe do things discriminatory and racist against black people, try to keep them down. The 20-page report and an accompanying 95-page conference paper drawn on evidence from 60 countries. Work on them started after the May 2020 death of George Floyd, a black man killed in Minnesota by a white police officer. Its release comes days after the officer, Derek Chauvin. Why do you have to have my name? And he spells it the same way I do. Was sentenced to 22 and a half years in prison. We could not find a single example of a state that has fully reckoned with the past or comprehensively accounted for the impacts on the lives of people of African descent today, said Mona Rishamawa, who supervised the preparation of the report. The United Nations Human Rights Office, which prepared the report, recommends creation of a commission. When it comes to black people and reparations, why do there always have to be a freaking commission? We got to sit down. Oh, we got to talk about this. We have to discuss this. We have to really investigate. Really. It didn't take much of an investigation for the anti-Asian bills that were passed and the $50 million that was given to them. Oh, no. We don't need a commission for that. We could see that with our own eyes. I mean, clearly, there's some random guy, punched some lady in the Asian woman in the face, and this other guy spat on her. A bunch of mental ill people doing that. But no commission. Sign a check, sign a bill. It urges a reimagining of policing to address racial stereotyping, the militarization of weapons and tactics, and a lack of accountability. The report draws on interviews with more than 340 people and more than 100 written submissions from civil society and academic organizations. It points to common patterns of experience for people of African descent in Europe, Latin America, and North America, contending with poverty and with barriers to education, healthcare, jobs, and political participation. The report spotlights the deaths of 190 people of African descent who died at the hands of law enforcement officers, most of them in the United States, pointing out that few of the victims posed a threat. It analyzes 7 emblematic cases, including those involving Mr. Floyd, Breonna Taylor, in the United States, together with cases from Brazil, Britain, Colombia, and France. Only the death of Mr. Floyd has resulted in police being held to account. But the deaths recorded in the preparation of this report were just the tip of the iceberg. Mrs. Rashawami noted, she cited a mother in Latin America who protested, "You always talk about George Floyd. Every day we have a George Floyd, and nobody talks about it." The report calls for reparation as an essential step to addressing the suffering inflicted by slavery and colonialism. Monetary compensation was important, the report said, but reparation should not only be equated with financial compensation, they could also include formal acknowledgement and apologies, educational reform, and measures to commemorate the experience of people of African descent. An apology. I'm sorry. Great. It's a very nice symbolic gesture. But it's not enough. Mrs. Bachelet will present the report to the United Nations Human Rights Council next month at the start of a debate that will test the Biden administration's willingness to engage on racism in a multilateral setting. In a written statement on Monday, in a written statement on Monday actually, that's a typo. The State Department said it had received a copy of the report that it supports the amplification of victims' voices as well as those of their families and communities in all countries. The United States is committed to treating every person with dignity, upholding human rights, championing opportunity, defending freedom, and strengthening the rule of law, the statement said. We recognize that our country has not always lived up to these ideals, particularly for African Americans and other people of color. Other people of color. Let that sit for a minute. Other people of color. Preparing a gateway for other people to be included. Playbook. They never veer away from the playbook. That reminds me of when affirmative action took place. And included in affirmative action was white women. Yeah, they were being discriminated against and they needed jobs because their white husbands and fathers and brothers were not hiring them. Just like they weren't hiring the black Americans. So, and to piggyback that group and call them minorities. So Uncle Tom, nah, I ain't gonna use Uncle Tom, that's loaded. Barry Stillmore wasn't hiring his niece and his cousins. They weren't getting jobs because they were women. Just like the blacks, we ain't giving them jobs either. We're not moving them up the ladder either. Really. Okay. Went out. These things go out so much. Good score. Okay. That's interesting. Smoking-related illnesses are the number one cause of death in the African American community. I'm not smoking. I'm not inhaling. Blowing it in and blowing it out. Don't get on my case about that. I'm not smoking. I'm toking, not smoking. This is toking. Don't get it twisted. Toking. Black Star Robot. Like, share, comment. I like your feedback. I do. Oh. In Brazil, a toll more dire each day. The country trails only the U.S. in COVID deaths, and cases are still soaring. Rio de Janeiro, Brazilians were recovering from Carnival in the heady days of February 2020, when the first known carriers of the new coronavirus flew home from Europe, planting the seeds of catastrophe. In Brazil, Latin America's largest nation, the virus found remarkable fertile ground, turbocharging the outbreak that has turned South America into the hardest hit continent in the world. Brazil recently surpassed 500,000 official COVID-19 deaths, the world's second highest total behind the United States. About 1 in every 400 Brazilians has died from the virus, but many experts believe the true death toll may be higher. Home to just over 2.7% of the world's population, Brazil accounts for nearly 13% of recorded fatalities, and the situation there is not easing. President Jair Bolsonaro has led a strikingly lackadaisical, dismissive, and chaotic response to a coronavirus crisis that has left Brazil poorer, more unequal, and increasingly polarized. Social distancing measures have been spotty and badly enforced. The president and his allies have promoted ineffective treatments, and for months, the government failed to acquire a large number of vaccines. As a Brazilian, it's appalling to see the throwback following 3 decades of health achievements happening so fast, with devastating consequences, said Marcia Castro, the chair of the Department of Global Health and Population at Harvard University. As the virus began spreading from large cities to remote corners of Brazil last year, it took an especially high toll in the Amazon region. By January, patients in the state of Amazonas were suffocating to death after the government was late to heed warnings about oxygen shortages. In India, as you recall, when I read the earlier article, the oxygen situation was the big problem, aka the ventilators. Now, as the country struggles to vaccinate people, the region's isolated villages deep in the rainforest have often accessible only by river still present a unique challenge. Mr. Bolsonaro has told Brazilians repeatedly that they had nothing to fear. The social distancing, lockdowns, and travel restrictions that became the norm elsewhere were wild overreactions that would devastate Brazil's economy, he warned. What kind of advice is that? I mean, what are you talking about? In my particular case, given my history as an athlete, should I become infected, I would have nothing to worry about, Mr. Bolsonaro said in March of last year. I wouldn't feel a thing. or at most, it would be a measly cold, a little flu. He later tested positive for the virus and appeared to have only mild symptoms. The cavalier attitude alarmed doctors in Brazil, which has a solid track record of finding innovative solutions to vexing health problems. Mr. Bolsonaro fired his first health minister in April of last year after their disagreement over virus containment became public. The next minister lasted barely a month, unwilling to abide by Mr. Bolsonaro's effusive endorsement of hydrochloroquine, an anti-malaria pill that has not been shown to effectively treat COVID-19. Isn't that what the orange man used when he had coronavirus? Trump. Some say it works, some say it don't. Then the president put Eduardo Pazuello, an army general with no background in healthcare, in charge of the ministry. He has been faulted by lawmakers for allowing the outbreak to spiral out of control this year, pushing the healthcare system to the point of collapse. The pandemic abated late last year, worsened as the new year began, and exploded in March and April. Brazil's official death tally averaged fewer than 400 a day in early November, but soared to more than 3,000 a day in early April. Tragedy on a scale few would have predicted. In recent weeks, the daily death toll has exceeded 2,000 and new cases are surging again. Dealing with death has become routine for Mauricio Antonio de Oliveira, 51, a supervisor at the Grupo Eden Funeral Home in São Paulo. But 15 months into the pandemic, he hasn't gotten used to the particular viciousness COVID inflicts on families of the deceased. Open coffin viewings are normal in Brazil, which allows the grieving to say a final farewell. But such funerals are prohibited for COVID victims. It's very cruel because the person with COVID is hospitalized and then you don't see them anymore. He said, they want to see their loved one, but there is no way. By April of last year, many hospital intensive care units were overloaded, leaving families scrambling to secure beds or even chairs in packed emergency rooms. As a COVID-19 survivor, which I had COVID in January, breathing was hard, coughing, spitting up mucus, phlegm. I mean, it was never ending. Phlegm coming out. What the hell? I waited about 3 weeks before I was tested. Lo and behold, I had COVID. I waited 2 more weeks, went back, got tested. The COVID was still in my system. I waited another 2 weeks, went back, COVID was still in my system. I went back 2 weeks later, COVID was still in my system. I went back another 2 weeks, COVID was in my system. I waited 3 weeks, went back, COVID was still in my system. The hospital sends me some notification that I wanted to be, they wanted to run experiment on, but I had the antibodies or whatever. So I went back, COVID was still there. So I'm like, wait, what's going on? They said, listen, your long term, long haul, long term, whatever the hell it was. It's in your system. You can't pass it on. Now, by that time, I didn't have any symptoms. There was nothing. I was like, what the hell? How do I still? But it stayed in my system for a long time. Most people are asymptomatic. They don't even show any symptoms. I talked to a nurse, and she was like, oh, well, you know, you got the antibodies and blah, 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 you know. So, you know, when you got the antibodies, if you was to catch it again, your body already recognizes it. It has the tools to, you know, kill it. I have company coming up over here. There's some women watching their sons and whatever. So I'm not going to tone down. But I'm still Black Star Robot. Hi, how you doing? Hi. This thing is dangerous because the flame shoots up. You can't really see it, so it'll burn the crap out of you. So you got to be real careful. I think I almost burned my eyelashes before, so I'm real careful. Last time I videoed, I was on there for like an hour and I think 23 minutes, something like that. I didn't realize I was talking so long. But when Black Star Robot gets talking, dropping jewels, it's making people aware of, you know, what's going on. Time flies. But right now, since my area has been invaded, I'm gonna pull back. My jungle hookah is on standby. Spread the fumes of my jungle hookah. Yeah. So I'm gonna pause for the cause. Black Star Robot. I'm out. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Black Star Robot.